Internet of Things is one important thing that makes a whole bunch of sense in today's world. So Internet of Things is basically this framework which allows us to gather data from sources where data has never been traditionally looked at and make it available in the cyber world. For example, currently the electric distribution system is not enabled in the cyber world at all. Nobody knows how many units of power did your washing machine just consume. Okay? Similarly, water distribution networks are not online, so nobody knows how much water flows through this pipe every hour. Okay? That said, there are a whole bunch of various things where no data is captured at all. For example, all those garbage bins in all across the city, do you have an idea of how much they are full at different points of time in the day? No. So all of those parking lots which are available, we do not know how much full they are. Many of those parking lots have humans guiding as to what percent of the parking lot is full. Even if we know what percent of the parking lot is full, it's such a difficult problem so as to go all around the parking lot or all around these MLCP buildings, multi-level car parking buildings, and figure out an empty slot. Why do we need to do that in this data science era? And the answer is in IoT. Essentially, IoT enables us to collect data from such sources which are unconventional. If you can, let's take an example of the electric grid. Okay, let's say electric grid has the following problem. People who manufacture electricity, these electric generation plants, essentially have to invest a lot in creating those plants, and each of those plants comes up with a peak power that they can generate. Okay, electricity is one of those things that gets lost if not used. Electricity, once generated, is transmitted over those wires and sent all across where it is consumed. So although these power plants have to keep them ready for peak consumption happens once in a while. It happens when India versus Pakistan Cricket World Cup is going on and everybody is glued to their TVs. Every TV in India is on, and that's when there's a peak demand. Electricity boards have to be ready for such peak demands, but at the cost of putting in more and more infrastructure so as to support this particular peak demand, right? Now, and most of the times 1/10 of this electricity gets used because peaks can be as high as 10 times compared to the average consumption. There needs to be some way of avoiding these peaks. What is the way? So one way is to basically enable variable pricing for electricity. So when we clearly know that India versus Pakistan match is going on, is there a way to monitor what is being used in every household? For example, if I know that this guy is also running washing machines, can I tell him that, hey, for the next 3 hours or for the next 6 hours, when the entire one day international is going to happen, I'm going to charge you 10 times the actual price of electricity. Okay. Now, given that variable pricing, of course, the guy would want to schedule their washing machine at an off-peak time. Variable pricing for electricity is possible only if these electricity companies can, one, monitor how much electricity is being consumed per household at different points of time, and second, have a way of communicating this information back to the customer. Nobody can charge variable rates until the customer is said so, and therefore there needs to be a way of connecting this physical world electricity domain to the cyber world. And fortunately, there are a whole bunch of sensors to do so. There are a whole bunch of sensors that people have come up with such that they can connect to the Wi-Fi and then send across this information to the cloud where electricity distribution boards can process this further. Now what this does is to really take away the burden from these peak loads. So those guys who are running washing machines at this time are not going to do so because otherwise they will have to pay much more. And these times can actually be very variable. So you may not fix a particular time slot every day and then say, hey, I will charge variable amounts only in this time period. In fact, you can vary these significantly by taking in real-time data. So if you know that today the match is scheduled, well, you can charge for it more, but there could be some unscheduled sudden surges in electricity consumption, and this can be easily caught if you have these sensors in place. So IoT, we didn't talk about a whole bunch of use cases, but the whole bunch of these industries can be severely impacted if we have these IoT sensors in place and these sensors sending us data, and then we're doing data mining, machine learning on top of these things.